Hello everybody, Raven Knight here, and welcome to the long-awaited, long-anticipated analysis of Commander Ravier, the brand new hero skin and lore that's been introduced in Season 4 of this year For Honor. For those who don't know what's going on throughout this year is each season, Ubisoft is releasing hero skins that go with different characters, and there's lore behind each of the hero skins. So what I do is, I start by making a video where I do nothing but read the lore given to us by Ubisoft, because they have like 3-part short stories that they release on the website. So I read those, and then after that, I then do a video where I discuss the hero and their lore and talk about what I like, what I don't like, that kind of thing. I did it in Season 1 where we talked about Ravier, the Ancient Warden, who was kind of around during the Great Cataclysm and fought these giants and stuff and made an alliance with the dragons. It was kind of cool. Then you had the Curse of Bolthorn, who I felt was kind of lackluster. He was, I really felt like we didn't explore Bolthorn all that much. His story just seemed like an excuse to bring the Magi to Heathmoor. I felt like it was a little lackluster and the design wasn't all that great. Then in Season 3 we had Yokai Slayer Maiko, this Kensei who wanted to save her brother and fought against the yokai that were invading to try to save him and ended up killing a giant Jorogumo. It was very well done. I was a fan of the design and the story behind her. All that was awesome, and now we've got Commander Ravier, a black prior who serves Horkos, who has gone to Arabia to find out the future of Heathmoor from an ancient sphere that the Arabians have, and is now bringing that information back to help Horkos win the war against Chimera. There's a lot I want to talk about, so let's not waste any time and get right into it. Let me start by saying I do not like her name. I know that this seems a weird thing to get into, but I do not like Commander Ravier's name. For one thing, it sounds very unoriginal. What was the warden's name? Ramiel. What's her name? Ravier. It sounds almost exactly the same. Replace the L with a, it's Ravier, Ramiel. It's like, come on, they sound way too similar. Couldn't you come up with a better name for her? Something a little bit differently? How about Maria? Or, you could name her Mortem or Morte, since she's supposed to be Lady Misery or an emissary of death. Give her a different sounding name than Ramiel. Why did it have to be Ravier? That felt a little bit lackluster to me, but that's nitpicking. Okay, I'll admit that's nitpicking about the name. Now let's talk about her design. Okay, so with Ramiel, I thought his design was okay. I thought his design was cool. It felt a little bit like Elden Ring, but it was still okay. Bolthorn, it wasn't all that great. There were some things about it that were kind of interesting, but nothing really that jumped out at me. Maiko's was fantastic. I think hers was easily the best. And then Commander Ravier. I both like it and don't like it. And I'll explain why. She's got some cool imagery there. She's got a crown of thorns going on. She's got a really cool face mask, which is supposed to be kind of a reference to Baldwin IV, an actual Crusader king. She's wearing kind of monistic dark robes. She's letting some of her hair show, which is kind of unique. That's something a little bit neat that I liked about that design idea. She's got smoldering edges to her outfit, which is kind of cool. I like her shield. It kind of has this crown of thorns wrapped around it. It's all very cool. It's all very neat. I kind of like that. I think the problem that I have with it is the implication. I've talked about this before, and I'll say it again. I detect something of a bias that Ubisoft was doing here with the design. They admitted themselves in the live stream that a lot of her design was inspired by Baldwin IV and other Christian iconography like the crown of thorns, the monistic robes, that kind of thing, the burning incense that's hanging by her belt. All of that felt very much like a tie to Catholicism or the Christian church. And just making that out to be an unquestionable villain, I felt kind of like this seems a little uninspired. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it's cool that you're adding Christian iconography and symbolism, that's neat, but why did you have to attach it to the villain character? That seems a little weird. Plus, and we'll get more into this when we talk about her story, but I think the other thing that didn't really impress me is I was kind of hoping for a little bit more. I know that people are like, oh no, I don't want the edgy, spiky, black armored knights. That's so edgy and uncool. And at the same time, yeah, they didn't add all the spikes and edge to this, but she is Edge, the character. She is Lady Misery. She disfigures people and disembodies people. I don't know. I feel like if you're gonna make her edgy, just go full edge, just go all the way with that crap. Don't drop all pretense and just do it. Some people have said that they don't like the smoldering effect to her clothes because it looks a little cliche, especially when you consider that since she's not supernatural in nature herself, it makes no sense that her clothes would be perpetually burning. Like with Maiko's skin, she has eyes on her body that are constantly looking around, but it's established that that's the yokai trapped within her trying to break free. And with Bolthorn, you kind of saw like weird patterns and movements on his skin. But again, he's being cursed, so it makes sense that you'd see that with her. There's nothing supernatural about her, so why are her clothes perpetually smoldering? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So on the one hand, I think she's got a really cool design, but on the other hand, it got some questions. But that's all subjective. That's the way I stand. Maybe you love her design, maybe you don't. It's all good. I just know that I had some questions about it. Let's talk about her story now, though. Okay, so, is it good? I don't know how to say this without sounding, a little bit like a downer, but I don't like it that much. And not just because of the implication or bias. It's because of this. First of all, I feel like the story should be unique to her. Like, for example, Ravier, when he does what he does in his story, that is Ravier to a T. He sticks out. No other character could do what he did because this feels like his unique story to tell. Bolthorn's the same way. He's a very unique character. The way he acted, the way he did things when he went to Egypt, the way he handled his problems, and what he did when he came back felt unique to him. Maiko, what other person could do what Maiko did? These characters felt fleshed out. They felt like these are people we can relate to and understand, and they feel unique from other people. Like, you could not look at Bolthorn and say, oh, just any old raider. He felt unique. Maiko, not just any old Kensei. She felt unique. But with Ravier, why didn't Astrea do this? Why didn't Astrea go to Arabia? Because everything she is, everything she does is just Astrea to a T. She is just every other darkness Black Prior. Like, if you read through it, like, literally in part 3 of her story, she literally says, she's not one for the light. She prefers the comfort of her darkness. What? And then, of course, she's never cared much for flowers, but she hopes this one grows in a land drenched with blood. Like, what the heck? What? It's over the top edgy darkness for edgy darkness' sake. And when I hear it, I'm just like, this doesn't... When they say she is Lady Misery, hiding behind a mask that no one can see, you mean like most other Black Priors who wear helmets that cover their faces or wear makeup that covers their eyes? Lots of Black Priors dress like this. Lots of Black Priors act like this. She is only unique because the writers are telling us she's unique because, oh, she's Vortigern's right-hand person. She's Vortigern's right-hand woman. Okay, but what makes her unique? Because she kills a lot of people? Don't other Black Priors kill a lot of people? Why don't we see more of that? Like, what makes her special? Is she a better tactician? Is she, like, has she killed certain people that we need to know about? Did she have a run-in with someone special? What makes her unique? Is she related to Vortigern? How did Vortigern find her? Like, there's lots of things about her I want to know more about so that I can understand her character, but all the things were revealed. Heck, when she gets to the Sultana, when she gets to Arabia, she's disgusted by the contentment and the peace. She's disgusted by the Sultana for her contentment and just being a genuinely good person. Oh my God, you're Astrea. You're just basically Astrea. You hate all things peaceful and good and are disgusted by contentment. There's nothing unique. What if you were a Black Prior who found that interesting? What if you were kind of impressed by the way the city was run and kind of wondered, man, I wish we could bring this to Heath more? What if you were fascinated by that? What if you were a character who you still went through with your plan to get the information, but you were also now conflicted because you were so impressed with the way Arabia ran? That would have at least given me something new to look at with your character outside of darkness, edgy, the abyss. Like, it's all the same. She's just every other Black Prior. You just gave her a new skin tone. And I know people are going to say, well, yeah, but that's just the way all the hero skins are. Not in terms of lore, okay? When you look at Maiko, yes, she fights like any other Kensei does mechanically, but her attitude, her behavior felt unique to her. She was a character. Even Bolthorn, though I think he could have been done better, felt like a character. For example, when he kills the Jarl that took over while he was gone, he brings him back to life with the power of the bracelet to show not only its power, but his willingness to forgive, his willingness to be magnanimous. When he makes the promise to Neferka that he's not going to steal the bracelet, but then turns around and does anyway, he feels guilty about it. That's something that's unique, you know, not every raider may feel that way. He's breaking from the template that is raider. When Maiko does what she does, she's breaking from the template that is Kensei. But when Ravier burns down the palace and hates all things good and content, she's just still being the template of Black Prior, just now she's got a cooler face mask. I feel like there's no creativity there. I'm going to say it, I'm going to be real honest, guys. She may have a better design than Bolthorn, but she's probably the worst hero we've gotten so far out of the year, just because there's no difference between her and every other Black Prior we've seen. There's no meaningful difference between her and every Horkos warrior we've seen. Heck, what I find interesting is none of the other heroes so far that we've had hero skins for had any connection to Chimera or Horkos. This is the first one where it's just like, nope, she's just a Horkos Black Prior. Speaking of which, I want to point this out. In my video where I did the Black Prior sermon, I was playing the role of a Black Prior giving a sermon about the Christian ties to the Black Priors, and in it, the Black Prior that I was speaking as was saying that we need to rebel against Vortigern. People were telling me in the comments, no, Vortigern isn't the one running the Black Priors right now. He's not with Horkos. That's Elizabeth. She's the one with them. This story now proves that that's not true and Vortigern is with Horkos, so I will take my W and kindly thank you for your time. With all that out of the way, though, let's keep talking about the story. Okay, so the story opens with Ravier rescuing her Black Prior from an attack by Chimera, and she's lamenting the fact that they haven't won many victories, mostly just defeats, and she wants to know how to fix things. Vortigern tells her that there is an artifact in Arabia that will grant them the ability to see the future. There are a couple things that I want to know about this. First of all, how do you know about it? It says in the story that there's been the opening of trade routes. What the hell does that mean? What trade routes? Who are you trading with? Who is Horkos trading with? Oh, hey, Raven here. Needed to stop the video real quick. Sorry, promise I won't take up too much time, but I made a slight error here. I said trade routes, but when I went back and re-looked at the story, Vortigern actually said the opening of travel routes. So a slight error in terminology, although I would argue that if travel routes are being opened up out of Heathmoor that Horkos can take advantage of, that implies trade anyway, because Horkos isn't at war with anyone outside of Heathmoor right now, so if they're opening up travel routes outside of Heathmoor, that means that there's going to be an indication or implication of trade anyway. So the criticism still stands, but I did feel the need to point out, my fault, I got the terminology wrong. Okay, but because my criticism still stands, back to the video. That was never established at all, and it breaks everything we know about Horkos. Horkos doesn't trade. Horkos dominates, controls, and steals. That's their whole outlook. Who are they trading with? My thought was, because Arabia is an island, maybe Boyen, the pirate, had been there and told them about it. But according to the story, it's opening of trade routes. What trade? And if you are trading with other people outside of Heathmoor, who the hell are you trading with? That's the question I want to know. That's what I'm curious about. So then, and I'll go ahead and say it now, I'll ask it. People were complaining about this, and I agree with it. Why didn't we get a Tiandi hero skin? We'd been going on kind of this pattern where we had a Warden hero skin, and then we had a Raider hero skin, then we had a Kensei hero skin. Everyone was kind of excited for a Tiandi hero skin. We didn't get that. We got Ravier, who was a Black Prior, and people were kind of like, wait, why did we get this? Why didn't we get Tiandi? I have a theory as to why that is, but we'll save it for the end. But it is a fair point. Why didn't we get Tiandi? You could have had a Tiandi who was loyal to Horkos, and Astrea sent him to do the exact same thing that Ravier did. It wouldn't have changed anything, because Ravier's character is by the book basic, I'm mustache twirlingly evil. You could have done that. You didn't. I think that was silly, but we'll get to that at the end. So anyway, Ravier takes her Black Priors and goes to the deserts of Arabia. Now, according to what the developer said in the live stream, Arabia right now is an island that broke off from the Arabic Peninsula, right? But the way they talk about it, particularly in part 3, when they're talking about how they get home, they make it sound like it's just another part of the continent, that they just walked there. Did they not take a boat? I thought it was an island. What the hell? How did that work? I thought y'all said it was an island. But regardless of that, that's a minor thing. So they get there and they come in, and the land is just peaceful and happy and prosperous. The war has never touched it. The Sultana seems like a genuinely nice, good person, just very warm and friendly. And it sickens Ravier. It just makes her so mad. How could you be this way? Honestly, it makes me a little mad too, because it feels so unrealistic. It doesn't feel right to me. Not just because of the way the Arabic Peninsula was and how it should have been during the time of the Cataclysm, if we're treating this historically, but also because it breaks any immersion that For Honor has. It's kind of like if you were playing Warhammer 40k and you suddenly discovered that somewhere in the far reaches of the galaxy, there was a totally peaceful faction who didn't fight with anyone, and yet they had this magical barrier that made sure none of the other factions ever reached them. You know, it's like if the Tau in 40k just could make a barrier between their side of the galaxy and everyone else and say, we're going to prosper and live here, and we never have to endure any war. And we have changed our whole ideology to meet that reality. That feels really weird when everything else in the galaxy is nothing but war, and that's the way it is here. For Honor is all about warfare and how warfare has shaped these factions and cultures. Here we have one that has not been touched by war, and yet they're doing wonderfully and great. I feel like that doesn't make any sense. Couldn't they have had some wars, or maybe some combat experiences, or some kind of conflict? But no, apparently they always manage to avoid that crap. They always manage to avoid it because of their sphere of fate. So, moving on, Ravier meets the Sultana and plays the role of a kind, friendly diplomat, and basically says, we just want to be your friend. We want to connect with you. We want to form alliances. Here's why I find that so funny. Ravier is all about war, conflict, misery, violence, destruction. Why would she even entertain the idea of deception here? Why would she even lie? Why would she even pretend how would she know what to offer? Would an alliance even exist in her vocabulary? Like, how does she know to do that? Like, how does she know what things to offer this woman? In fact, here's a question. What could she offer? No, hear me out. If the Sultana and the sphere of fate or whatever are so special and have kept this land prospering so wonderfully, why on earth would they accept anything from Horkos? No. Think about it. You know, when the British came to China initially, want to know what started the Opium War? Britain came to China in the hopes of trade because they wanted the tea that China produced. They didn't have anything China wanted. They kept offering all these great things. Oh, China, here, Emperor, here you go. Here's some cool stuff we got. And the Emperor just said, that's nice, but we don't need it. Why didn't the Sultana say the same thing? Oh, we're going to offer you a wonderful alliance so that we can protect you in wartime. No need. We're good. We always know when wars are coming, so we don't need that. Oh, well, we'll trade you some of Ashfeld's crops to you. Well, we've got a pretty good crop going on right now. We're good. We can help rebuild any devastation from disasters. Oh, we don't really get those either. We're doing really well. What could Ravier offer them? The Sultana seems pretty stupid. In fact, it's proven that she's stupid because her advisors keep saying, we shouldn't trust this woman. We really shouldn't trust this lady hiding behind a mask. We really shouldn't listen to her. We probably should. Nah, I'm sure they're fine. I like the cut of their jib. Finally, they decide to let Ravier see the library, which is supposed to be a reference probably to the Arabian library. So that they go there, they find the celestial sphere, and Ravier touches it and sees something devastating, something bloody, something horrific, and she gets super excited about it. And then the first thing she does is she says, no one can know this but me. And then destroys the sphere, and then demands that they burn down the library. Now, obviously, Sultana should have seen that coming. They all should have seen that coming. And then they managed to escape into the desert, and they only lost 2 Black Priors in the escape. This proves to me a few things. People have been saying for a while, oh no, I'm sure that they have warriors in their kingdom, because it says in one of the daily quest missions that anytime dangers came, they always were able to violently repel the attackers, implying that they do have warriors. Okay. But this was only a small band of Black Priors, and all of their warriors couldn't stop or detain this small band of Black Priors. They're literally in the lion's den, so to speak. They are in the heart of the palace. That means that they need to fight their way out of the palace, get out of the city, and back into the desert and not get stopped. Only 2 of their number died. How is that possible? How is that possible that you survive that if they have a kingdom that is loaded with warriors ready to fight? What that tells me is they don't. which is a problem. You see, when the Magi were introduced, it was established that the Magi were active and protecting Egypt because it was kind of a bygone kingdom. It was kind of a land that still needed to be defended because it was a civilization that was constantly being oppressed and harassed. So they needed strong warriors to defend it. Here, they don't have a need for strong warriors all the time. They always can anticipate when there's a threat and just avoid it somehow. I don't know how that's possible. Like, if I was able to predict the future and find out, oh my gosh, a tsunami is going to come and wipe out my hometown on the beach, okay, well, we can avoid that. I mean, I might be able to move, but my house will still get destroyed, won't it? I mean, how does knowing a disaster or war is on the way help you prevent it? Like, I mean, it helps you avoid it because you can move and escape, but how does it prevent? Regardless, that's not a big deal. So Ravier takes this information and then does probably the stupidest thing she could. She burns down the library and kills the Sultana because she's afraid someone else may learn the truth. All right. You know something? You might have actually had a great plan here, Ravier, if you left it alone. If you just said, wow, I learned a lot from that. Thank you, Sultana, for sharing this amazing gift with me. We will use it to better ourselves, and you can expect an alliance with us in the future. Would that not be the right thing to do? Would that not be the best thing you could do? Because not only do you get the information that Vortigern wants, you've now gained a very powerful ally for Horkos, Arabia. Don't you want this prosperous land to support you? No, we're going to burn down their library and prove we're an enemy. Are you that ass-numbingly stupid? This is incredibly dumb. This was an incredibly stupid decision by Ravier. I have no idea why she decided to do this. And in fact, she even admits accidentally that this was a bad idea. Because later what she does is when they get ambushed by Chimera, she manages to win because she used the future seeing to see it coming. And then she captures the warden leading them and leaves him to suffer on a boiling rock and then leaves him alive. She walks away not knowing if he'll live or die because she says, the sphere didn't show me everything. The sphere didn't show me everything, so I don't want to make too many decisions, because if I kill him, that could mess up everything. If I leave him alive, that could mess up everything. You know what else the sphere didn't show? It didn't show whether or not you should burn down the library. She even admits before she burns down the library that fate is a fickle thing. The slightest change, the slightest falling of a flower petal could alter fate itself. So maybe you shouldn't burn down a library which will create new enemies for you. That to me seems like an incredibly stupid decision. That's what I'm getting a lot from this story. It's stupidity on all sides. A very stupid Sultana who let this person she doesn't know get access to her most valuable artifact in exchange for nothing she needs that we know of. And Ravier being incredibly stupid by making an enemy out of a group of people that she didn't need to make an enemy out of. Yes, I know, we need war, we need devastation, we need death and destruction. Oh, yes, I get that. But why would you make an enemy out of someone while still fighting your other war? If you really want to make them your enemy, finish your conflict with Chimera, then come back and betray them. Don't do it now, unless you think that you can take them out easily because they don't have a warrior culture that's going to stomp you. Oh wait, here comes the new hero on their way. Clearly they had something going down. A lot of this makes no sense. A lot of this feels very stupid, but here's the ultimate problem. You ready for the ultimate problem? Here it is. This whole story is just Bolthorn's story retold, only worse. Really think about it. Bolthorn's whole story was that he wanted to go and find something that could save his people. His people were starving and dying and losing life. He needed to save them. So he goes out to find a way to save them, discovers this bracelet in ancient Egypt that could potentially save all of Valkenheim. He steals the bracelet, breaking his promise to a friend, brings it back and tries to save all of his people. And in doing so, it looks like he saved the day. It looks like he's done something magnanimous and good, but in the end it brought a curse, and that curse ended up bringing the Magi, a brand new hero, to get revenge on Bolthorn for what he did and take back what's rightfully theirs. Pretty simple, pretty standard, but it's a decent story. With this, it's the same thing. Ravier wants to save Horkos, wants to help them win the wars because they're not doing a good job. So she hears about an artifact across the sea. She's going out to go get it. She then manages to get it, gets what she wants out of it, and destroys the relic, going back and giving the information back, using it to help turn things around. Everything looks great. Everything looks awesome. But what's going to happen later? Oh, guess what? Along comes a warrior from that culture you just offended and attacked, who's come to get revenge and come to take back what's theirs in some way. So all you've done is retold Bolthorn's story, but made it worse. That's the ultimate sin here. Whereas with Ramiel, it was an interesting backstory to what happened, what might have caused the cataclysm, where all these factions came from, where the dragons came from, what might have started the Wardens in the first place. You had Bolthorn's story, which established that there could be other cultures outside of Heathmoor that we don't know much about, and that there could be ancient relics of supernatural origin that could benefit the land. Then you had Maiko, who told the story of the yokai and how they made a big impact on the Mire and Heathmoor at large, and how the love of a sister for her brother allowed her to face a terrible danger that allowed her to rise up against it. And now you've got Bolthorn 2.0, only a lot dumber. I'm sorry, of all the stories we've had so far, this one is probably the weakest. It's definitely dark, it's definitely edgy, it fits a Black Prior story, but genuinely, 3 questions need to be asked. Why did it have to be Ravier? Why couldn't it be Astrea? Why couldn't it be Astrea herself or some other member of Horkos doing this? Number 2, why didn't we get the Tiandi hero skin? You could have easily had a Tiandi do the exact same things Ravier did, and it would still be the same story, same setup. There was no reason, realistically, to make it a Black Prior except to add to the edge and darkness, which still makes no sense. And 3, why was it so similar to Bolthorn? Why was it exactly the same as Bolthorn? Going to get an artifact to save your people or save your cause, and now you've pissed off someone, so they're coming to get revenge. That's what it is, and that really ticks me off. And finally, last bit, I've talked about it before, I'll talk about it again. I do think it is very silly that for 6 years, the For Honor developers tried to tell us there is no Christianity or monotheism in For Honor. That's why we're trying to get rid of all the Christian iconography and symbolism. Now we have a new character who's coming in with a lot of Christian symbolism and iconography, such as the crown of thorns, the monistic robes, the incense burning on the hip, and the direct tie to Baldwin IV. And they are made out to be a unquestioning evil bad guy who came in and hurt the poor innocent city that wasn't bothering anybody. And I know some people are going to say, isn't that just like the Crusades? No, it's not. There's a lot more nuance and context to that, and treating it like it's the same thing is just not accurate at all. It doesn't work. In fact, I've said it before, I'll say it again. There was a way to make this story work if they'd just been a little bit smarter about it. What they could have done. And Ubisoft, if you're paying attention, learn from this. What you could have done is had it that the Sultana saw a vision by touching the celestial sphere of a great Black Prior or knight from Heathmoor rising up and destroying your city and burning it to the ground. She gets scared of this and thinks, oh man, we got to do something about it. So she decides, we're going to invade Ashfeld, we're going to invade Heathmoor, and we're going to take the fight to them and wipe out these knights before they become a threat, you know? So she leads this attack. That's when we introduce the new hero. We get the new hero, we get their new fighting style, we have them attack Ashfeld, we have them attack the Mire, Valkenheim, all of it. They just start attacking everywhere. And then as a result of the damage they do in Ashfeld, this pisses off a Black Prior, who can be Ravier, who says, no, I've had enough of this. We're going to take this fight to them now. So then she leads an attack to destroy their homeland, and the Sultana realizes that she was the agent of her own destruction. She was the one who caused the destruction of her own city by pissing off the very people she should have left alone. She created a self-fulfilling prophecy by overextending her hand. So I think that would have been a much better idea. That way, you don't make an obvious good or bad guy. Because you can understand the actions of the Sultana. The Sultana wanting to make sure this prophecy doesn't come true. We get it. It's what a leader probably should do. Make sure that the bad doesn't happen. And then Ravier getting revenge by attacking that right back. Makes total sense. I get it. And it's also not the exact same thing as Bolthorn. It's a little different. There's a little bit more nuance, a little bit of creativity there. It doesn't just make the Black Prior out to be this darkness character. There's actually a reason behind the edginess. And then it doesn't make the Sultana look like a goody two-shoes who is a harmless victim. And it doesn't make it look like, oh man, they spanked us, now we gotta get them back. It adds a little bit of extra to it, because I feel like if all you do is make the Sultana and her kingdom all a bunch of goody two-shoes, then once it's time for them to actually nut up and be warriors, how can you trust them to be warriors when all they do is sit around and go, oh, well, we're very prosperous, we don't have any real problems, and we use this magical artifact to make sure that we never have problems. What war can you fight? You clearly can't fight a war. You couldn't even fight off a small team of Black Priors. You couldn't even capture them when they were in your house. And in the story, it established that while they were going to the Celestial Sphere, in the shadows, soldiers were watching them. People were watching, like, oh, what if she's up to something? What if she's up to something? Turns out she was up to something, and you still weren't up to the task of stopping her. That says that your military's weak, your warriors can't do crap, and you're too naive to even exist. See, that's the thing. If I look at Crusader history in the Islamic Empire and the Arabian Peninsula, there are legit warriors. Very smart, very intelligent, very capable warriors in the Islamic Empire and Arabian history. They would not have fallen for this, and even had they would have been able to respond to it effectively. Here, you've made them out to look like goody two-shoes, and now they are treated like bitches. Which do you want, people? Do you want the strong warrior culture that can fend for itself? Or do you want the people who got spanked by a ragtag team of Horkos rejects? Boy, I'm sorry I went on that rant there, but it bothers me because this could have been well done. I see the writing on the wall. I see what this could have been. But Ravier's story is very poorly handled. Even Bolthorn's, as lazy as I feel it was handled better than this. Bolthorn, at the very least, I understood why he did what he did. It made sense. It was fitting for his character to do what he did. Here, though, it's just an edgy Black Prior with a name, going over to a land far away to get information, come back with it, and do God knows what. The only good thing there are two good things I can say about this. The first good thing is Ravier's design is kind of cool. It is kind of neat. I'll give it that. I like the design. It's a good design. No cap. I like it. The other good thing is it does set up that there will be a year 7. Because if she's seen the future and knows that there's a lot coming, that implies year 7 is going to have a lot of stuff in it. So, with all what I've said out of the way, there are some good things, but overall, this was a crap one. This was a very bad hero skin lore. I was not a fan of this one. Ubisoft, you could stand to do a better job. I know you're better than this. You gave us Maiko, for God's sake. That was a great one. This one was crap. This one was not as good. If you enjoy the hero skin and like her, by all means, enjoy it. That's fine. I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't like. This is just my position on why I think that this one was probably the worst one of the year, why it felt very lazy, and why Ravier as a character felt lacking. The design is fine. The design is good, but there's a lot lacking in this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found something interesting in it. What do you think? Do you like Commander Ravier, or are you not as big a fan? Let me know down in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you do. I always read the comments. Feel free to support the channel. And as always, I will see you in my next video. Take care.